about a week ago, there was this rumor that Chris Paul might get traded to the Phoenix Suns. And a lot of us were thinking, okay, this is probably not going to happen. I thought it would happen. I thought it made a lot of sense. But a lot of us were thinking, okay, CP3 is going to go to the Bucks or the Lakers, maybe even the Clippers. We know Kawhi Leonard reached out to Chris Paul to bring him to the Clippers. But in the back of my mind, I felt like the only trade that could possibly make sense was CP3 getting traded to the Suns. And there's a huge reason for that, but before we get to that, guys, make sure you smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe, and turn on our notifications. I'm going to be doing my best to get you each and every trade straight to your device the moment it comes out. We're also going to be live streaming on my gaming channel, which is a YouTube channel called TheFlightMike TV. And I'm giving away multiple copies of NBA 2K21 on next-gen consoles on my Twitter account. Now that we've got all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Guys, we got some breaking news from the man, the myth, the legend, Adrian Wojnarowski, and Shams himself. But for the most part, they tweeted out the same thing. And it's kind of beautiful if you think about the poetry in motion occurring here, because it started out with Woj tweeting out that the Phoenix Suns are finalizing a deal to acquire Oklahoma City Thunder all-star guard Chris Paul, sources tell ESPN. He went ahead and tweeted out that Suns owner Robert Sarver is bringing the future Hall of Fame guard to Phoenix, delivering Devin Booker a running mate and the franchise a leader. Suddenly, the Suns become a real factor in the Western Conference this season. A very important detail to bear in mind. The Thunder dealt with this situation like dignity and class the same way they dealt with the Russell Westbrook situation, and that's according to Woj. The Thunder worked with Chris Paul's agency, CAA, Steve Human, and Ty Sullivan to get CP3 to a preferred destination. Sam Presti has a history of partnering with star players on trades, including Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony. This just adds to Sam Presti's credibility as a general manager. He's trying to indicate to star players that, hey, if you end up in OKC and you play for OKC and you get me what I want, you build up your stock and your value, I will make sure that I trade you to a place that you want to be afterwards. We saw this occur with Paul George. We saw this also occur with Russell Westbrook, and Sam Presti does it once again with Chris Paul. And then we got word on the official trade. And as you hear this trade, I want you to grade the trade for me in the comment section down below before I give you my analysis. The deal sends Chris Paul and Abdul Nader to the Phoenix Suns from the Oklahoma City Thunder for Kelly Oubre, Ricky Rubio, Ty Jerome, Jalen Leck, and a 2022 first-round pick, sources tell ESPN. Now, let me tell you why I think this is beautiful. From the Thunder's perspective, you had Russell Westbrook, right? A player that was kind of on the decline. Last year, you get the opportunity to trade Paul George for 5 first-round picks, which kind of forces your hand into a rebuild that you weren't really planning, but you ended up doing, right? After that, you decide to trade Russell Westbrook to his team of choice, the Houston Rockets. You get some assets, and you're able to get back Chris Paul, and you're able to get a bunch of first-round picks as well. Now, what you do is you take Chris Paul, you flip Chris Paul after a year of building up his stock, which kudos to the OKC Thunder, because at the time, many thought that the Thunder were going to buy out Chris Paul last year. I don't know if you guys remember, a lot of people thought that the Thunder were going to buy out Chris Paul, and they didn't. Sam Presti is the ultimate finesser. He took a year, built up Chris Paul's stock after it was rock bottom after a bad year in Houston or a down year in Houston, and he was able to trade Chris Paul and Abdul Nader to the Suns for another young, high upside player that is definitely going to develop to a remarkable player or just a great 3-and-D talent in Kelly Oubre. You're able to replace your floor general. Yes, Ricky Rubio's not nearly the caliber of floor general that Chris Paul is, but he can still run an offense. The Phoenix Suns were significantly better as a result of the acquisition of Ricky Rubio last year. And you get Ty Jerome, Jalen Leck, and of course, Sam Presti's signature move, acquiring a future first-round pick in a year where he believes the Phoenix Suns may not be as good. Bear in mind, Chris Paul's contract expires by 2022. At that point, he's allowed to go and sign with whatever team. Now, for Chris Paul, I told you guys Chris Paul's dilemma was always this. He's getting paid a ridiculous sum of money. He's getting paid like $40 million. And he had a choice. He could either take the $40 million, which greatly reduces his opportunity to win a championship, and he could play wherever a team wanted him to play, which is what he did last year, or he could buy out the remainder of his contract, which would really suck to do because it's a really good contract. He could agree to a buyout, hit free agency, and maybe sign with the Lakers for a mid-level exception. So obviously, Chris Paul took the money. I can't really blame him. We're talking about like 4 times the amount of money. He does go to a young up-and-coming team, a little bit worse than the Lakers. Clearly, they're not like the top team in the West. They're not the Lakers or the Clippers or the Nuggets. But they're a team that I really felt like were a Chris Paul away from true contention. Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, great young stars. Monty Williams is very familiar with Chris Paul. It's a great young unit that really showed out in the bubble. They literally are a veteran future Hall of Famer away from contention, in my opinion. And I don't think this trade damages the fiber of their offense that much, because you still have Mikal Bridges, who was doing most of the work in the bubble when the Phoenix Suns were able to go 8-0 and dominate teams. I personally love this trade. Chris Paul doesn't go to a top team in the West, but he was able to take a team that was possibly going to be, or probably going to be, a lottery team and push them into the playoffs and do wonders for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's development. Now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets a little bit more rope in his offense. He's going to have a little bit more responsibility, but he still has a facilitator, but he's not going to be able to lean on that facilitator as much in late game scenarios. Ricky Rubio is a remarkable talent, guys. Now, I want you to also pay attention to how remarkable this rebuild has been for OKC so far, because bear in mind, they were forced into this rebuild. Sam Presti, the ultimate finesser, so far got Lou Dort, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Darius Bazley, Kelly Oubre, 2 2021sts, and 15 first-round picks, and 4 possible pick swaps from 2021 to 2026. Bear in mind, he's probably going to eventually trade Ricky Rubio, and he's probably going to trade Danilo Gallinari very soon. If you ask me, I think this is a huge freaking W for both sides. This is why I felt like this trade was definitely going to happen. It made too much sense for it not to happen. The Suns become a top 4 team in the West. I have them right after the Denver Nuggets. It goes Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets, and the Suns for me, unless if something happens and barring some unforeseen horrible chemistry between the team. And for the Thunder, dude, I am scared of them. In about 3 to 5 years, they're going to be absolutely scary to go up against, unless if Sam Presti is going to offer like 7 first-round picks to another team for a star player. Now, I don't think the Thunder are done wheeling and dealing at all whatsoever. I expect Danilo Gallinari to get traded this offseason as well, but this is a remarkable start to the crazy trade frenzy that is going to ensue this offseason. So take a moment and let me know in the comment section down below. Who won this trade? What grades are you going to give each side for this trade? Aside from that, I'm your boy, TheFlightMike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.